Like most genres, survival games aren't for everyone, but they are for me. Scavenging for items, using scraps to build a roof over your head, and watching your measly wooden shack turn into a palace as you become accustomed to the life in the wild. But what is life without company? Spending all day risking life and limb for supplies to come home to nobody. Usually, people would overcome this by playing with their friends. But if you're like me and don't have any, this game has an incredibly cute alternative. Drake Hollow is a procedurally generated survival/adventure game developed by the Molasses Flood and published by CD Projekt Red. The game originally released on the 28th of August 2020 and is available on Xbox and PC. Off sale, the game is £23.79 on Steam and £24.99 on the Xbox Store. While the game is designed to be played as a co-op game, it can be played solo, and this is how I will be playing it for the review. I opened the game and went straight to the settings, tweaking them as required. The game provides a nice array of options, including full customization of controls for both controller and keyboard and mouse. You can choose if you wish to hold or toggle to aim, invert axis, change camera distances, and much more. One thing I did notice was an option for data collection enabled. This is set to on by default, so I chose to switch it off. I went to the website link provided for information about this data collection, and it said the following. We record gameplay analytics from Drake Hollow. You can opt out of uploading analytics in the options of the game. Those analytics store gameplay behaviour and include a unique identifier to verify gameplay across multiple sessions. For Drake Hollow, we use PlayFab by Microsoft to record gameplay events, and the data is stored on Microsoft servers. I don't know enough about this topic to say how intrusive or common this type of data collection is in video games, but from my reading it seemed fine. Press the character button and get sent to the character creation screen where you have a basic set of options you can change, such as your body type, hairstyle, colours, etc. There isn't much in terms of clothing, as you unlock a new apparel while you play the game. Start game gives you the options of Sandbox or Campaign. Campaign gives you a story and objectives to follow as you play. Sandbox forgoes the story in exchange for exclusive game mechanics and rewards. Both options let you pick from various presets which give you the option to make the game more focused on strategy or combat with varying levels of challenge. There is also a custom option where you can tweak game settings to how you would like. For this playthrough, I am going to play on the classic preset in the Campaign setting. The game opens with a cartoony cinematic showing some of the town. It pans out your character sat on a hill looking through their missed calls and texts from family. The final message shown is from your character's love interest Sam, which reads, "I think we should see other people." We then switch to a gameplay cinematic with our character sitting on a large rock while throwing pebbles into a void. As they sit there, a crow with glowing green eyes and a large gold compass swoops past you and perches on a nearby log. Once your character notices, the bird then flies off, indicating for you to follow them. Eventually, the crow tells you he's been sent to our world to find someone, and he thinks that we are the person who can help. We walk through the totally not suspicious wooden doorframe in the middle of the woods, and are pulled into another dimension called the Hollow. The crow leads us to a tree stump with crystals coming out of it. We think about the crystals really hard and awaken the shrine. In doing so, a drake pops out of the ground to see us, but unfortunately, so do some terminer grunts. The drake drops me a crude stick and then dips back into the ground and leaves me to defend the camp of these evil-looking scamps. The combat is simple but interactive. Each melee weapon has a choice to press once for a quick attack or then press and hold for a charged attack. You can block and dodge hits. There are also some attacks which aren't able to be blocked, and these are signalled with a broken shield icon. You can focus on an enemy so your camera follows them around. Recently, I played Another Crab's Treasure, and the combat scheme for that is very similar to the combat scheme displayed in Drake Hollow. As a reference, we've been told that we need to make a cleansing cauldron so that we can make food for the drakes. Sometimes when the crow gives you items, they fall quite close to them, and you have to press X in order to be able to pick them up, but you also have to be able to press and hold X in order to talk to the crow. And sometimes the option thinks you're trying to talk to him, but actually you're just trying to pick the stuff up. It would have been nicer if they'd have just pushed them a little bit further away. While scavenging for resources, anything that can be harvested or has loot inside of it is marked with a small symbol on top of it, so you don't spend time hitting the kitchen cupboard that never had anything in it in the first place. Another symbol that the game uses is a directional symbol alongside an alert sound to let you know when enemies are nearby. This is an excellent accessibility feature for those who are hard of hearing or unable to play with sound. Similar to Banished and other colony builders, you have supplies which you need for your townsfolk. In this case, it's keeping the drakes fed, watered, and with adequate entertainment. After setting up a camp and making our current drake baby feel at home, the crow tells us that resources on this island we're stuck on are limited, but we can build devices which allow us to explore further, unlocking more places to go and resources to find. He helps us with building something called a curio workbench, a crafting station that lets you craft small gadgets such as aether wards, which give you 16 seconds to walk through the aether, a blue toxic gaseous-like sea which separates islands from each other, teleport crystals and waypoints. The waypoint system is interesting and we will look at this in more detail later. Once we've done that, we go back and speak to the crow once more, who tells us that as well as the additional materials, there are also more drakes out there who need us to help them find their way to the camp. We're given our next task of climbing the lighthouse to gain a vantage point and pick out the next island that we will explore. I pop an aether crystal, kids, don't do drugs, and venture forth to the next area of this procedurally generated archipelago. Each new island has an amount of aether vines which need to be cleared in order to set up supply networks. If you clear only some of the vines, then they will eventually respawn, but if you clear all of the vines, then they are permanently removed. Clearing all of the vines on an island also gives you a chest containing various rewards. Hibernating drakes are quite easy to find. They have a tag beam coming out from them and a big leaf sprouting from the ground. This takes a lot of stress away from needing to find these, as they're very easy to notice just while you're exploring. As well as individual resources such as leaves, juice boxes, etc., there are also generic materials which are needed for crafting. Around islands there are occasionally trolleys stacked with these materials such as cloth and stone. I reach the highest point of the lighthouse as the quest tells me to, and doing so unlocks the ability to see certain things on my map, such as locations of uncollected drakes and schematics, similar to Immortals Phoenix Rising. Having access to this information allows you to start thinking about where you want to explore next. While playing, a countdown for 10 minutes may appear in the top corner of the screen, letting you know that your base is due to be raided. Raids consist of a varying amount of terminers attacking the base, damaging and destroying furniture if they get to them. The severity of the raid seems to be attached to the camp level. Thankfully, the 10-minute timer is quite generous and gives you plenty of time to return to base to defend it, before going back out on the road. However, if I was at the base crafting and then the 10-minute timer popped up, I did feel compelled to just stick around and wait for the raid to be over before I went back to exploring, so I didn't have to be interrupted or feel rushed, which occasionally led to me simply standing around waiting for the raid to commence. When you successfully defeat a raid, it will leave a chest with rewards in it for you. If, like me, you use the last of your aether wards to travel to a new island only to remember you still need to get back home, don't worry, the game has 4 of you. Once you have built the curio workbench, you are able to craft its items from anywhere, providing you have the resources on you. There'll be no dying for me yet. On your travels, you will find pretty coloured crystals, each of which can be chowed down on by your plant baby friends so that they can grow into plant children, plant adolescents, etc., etc. Doing so means they require more food, drink, and entertainment, but they provide you with better buffs and more charms. Drakes can grow all the way up to elders and finally can be retired, turning into a statue. The statue provides you with the maximum level buff of said drake, and they no longer require any resources. This also makes room for you to welcome new plant babies to your camp, as there is a drake limit of 40. Considering how this game appears to be set around the modern day, evidenced by your character having a smartphone and the design of the houses and cars, the humans who lived in this dimension previously all seem to have adopted a rather old-fashioned way of writing with the notes they leave behind around the islands. For example, "Dutiful to my lord, I lay down my life story here as plain as I can for whosoever should find it. I write lest I think my old life was a dream. I swear this account be true." After wading my way through the aether to Petrol Station Island, clearing out all of its infestation and raiding it for every material I could get my hands on, I decided to head back to camp and see if I could build anything new. Maybe even mature one of the drakes with my collected gems. Nearby to your camp there is a shop set up by a magpie who exchanges shiny objects for other items. You can also sell items in your inventory for more shiny objects. The shop sells a range of items including building materials, seeds, ammunition for ranged weapons, and various other useful things. Well, I had to die at some point to show you all what dying looks like, right? It was definitely not for any other reason. Dying gives you 2 options. You can either immediately respawn at camp in exchange for losing durability on your weapons, or you can turn into a spirit and run back to where you died and revive your character yourself for no loss. It appears that reviving at camp costs around 25% of your weapon durability. Movement as a spirit is quite fast, faster than sprinting while alive. You are also able to walk through aether as a spirit, so you don't have to worry about traversing between islands if you died far away. Also, when you reach your body as a spirit, you actually pick it up and you can move it to a different location before you revive yourself. There didn't seem to be a limit on how far away from the original place of death that you could move your character. In my opinion, there isn't any reason to choose to revive at camp unless you're really lazy, are willing to take the durability hit to get back to camp ASAP, or died somewhere so dodgy you don't believe you can reach your corpse with the spirit. The spirit walking just seems to be the entirely better option. In my notes, I made a complaint about the map feeling very big when you're a solo player, and that over time the constant back and forth between islands gets boring. While I still do believe that giving players the option for how big they'd like their archipelago to be would have been beneficial, I did make this note before I discovered the true powers of waypoints. Waypoints are an item you craft, which you can then place at various intervals around the land. If they are close enough together, they can be connected, which creates a purple cable. If you have a string of waypoints connecting the van all the way to your camp, then you can automatically receive supplies of the van's indicated type periodically. However, this isn't the only thing waypoints can do. The cables connecting waypoints together can also be used as a Sunset Overdrive-esque grinding pole, allowing you to quickly traverse across the world without dealing with Aether or terminers. This makes the back and forth of collecting resources so much less of a hassle. My issue with this mechanic is that the description on the workbench for waypoints is connect supply trucks to your camp and collect building materials using this handy device. Nowhere in the description does it explain to you that you can use these waypoints as a mode of transportation. It isn't until you find your first supply truck and it gives you the tooltip for the truck that it tells you about this incredibly useful to know detail about the waypoints. So essentially, we've been brought to this world to help the Drakes reclaim their strength while dispersing of the terminers around the world. From here on, the game turns into a story-driven survival game in which you explore the land, find resources and discover hibernating Drakes, sending them to your camp to look after them. Drakes aren't just plant babies though, as each Drake can give your character a unique buff, as well as providing an income of the required currency to build most items. I recorded 4.5 hours of Drake Hollow footage, and for the first time since I have started this series, when I was finished, I did not uninstall the game. In fact, I actually continued to play the game. The overlaps in genres between survival, tower defense and RPG all intertwine really well together and complement each other, rather than a myriad of game mechanics feeling directionless. Art is subjective, but to me the art style is absolutely beautiful, and those big beady eyes of the plant babies that need my help, how can I leave? The combat is easy to understand, but has enough depth to it that it feels engaging and doesn't get stale. Having the options of different weapons helps with this as well. Small quality of life features like unlimited sprint and the revival system that lets you move your body really gives the game a polished feel. I also always appreciate the ability to tweak the game to how you enjoy to play, and Drake Hollow delivers on this feature as well, giving you various presets as well as complete control over the game settings. However, no game is perfect, and Drake Hollow is no exception. I was playing on controller and there was no option to turn the vibrate off in the settings for that. Also, the camera while inside buildings feels awkward to turn and look around at things. I believe the description for the waypoints was misleading, which led to me not setting them up in the beginning when I probably should have been. The timer for the raids being 10 minutes long can make you feel obliged to hang around the camp until the raid is over rather than carrying on playing and then coming back later. And by the time I got my first level up, I'd forgotten it was a system in the game because it took such a long time for me to get enough XP. And that's why I've come up with a few suggestions that I think would fix the few issues that I did find while playing. I'd add an option for vibration for people who prefer to turn this off, adjust the camera to be slightly further zoomed out while inside buildings, add a note to the waypoint descriptions explaining that these can also be ridden by the player, adjust the raid timer from 10 minutes down to 5 minutes. This will give players plenty of time still to regroup at camp while not feeling obliged to hang around for ages if they already happen to be by the base when the timer starts. And my final suggestion is giving players the option in game settings to pick what size of world they'd like to have to just give an extra layer of customization. Overall though, I would highly recommend giving this game a try, especially if you manage to grab it on sale or in a bundle. I had a ton of fun and I'll definitely be continuing to play and hopefully roping my friends into playing co-op with me too. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always let me know what you thought of the game and my notes in the comments, and I will see you next time.